Alright, so what is a Raspberry Pi anyways? I'm sure you were sitting there wondering that to yourself just now. Actually, I think everybody's heard of a Raspberry Pi. Just, maybe a lot of people haven't heard of a Raspberry Pi computer. And why would you name a computer Raspberry Pi? Just seems odd, right? Well, we're gonna go over Raspberry today. So what is a Raspberry? Well, this is a Raspberry right here. This one's mine. This is the one I made. This has a Raspberry Pi inside of a case with a fan to help keep it cool. Has internal Wi-Fi as well as external, more powerful Wi-Fi with an antenna, as well as Bluetooth. It's also got a nice sized battery that I put some little feet on that it's glued to. And it is glued closed because it's a Raspberry 3 B+, and it's in a Raspberry 4 case with a Raspberry 4 screen. But that screen has absolutely no issues. I just used the instructions from the Raspberry 4. So, apparently it's compatible with Raspberry 3. So this one's mine. As you can see, it's a desktop right there. I'm at the desktop. It's basically a desktop computer. It's got all kinds of little things. We'll go over the I/O in a second, input, output. But for now, we're just kind of showing you. Here's a clone. This one's got a white board instead of a green one, but the layout and size and mounting holes and everything's pretty much an exact clone. So they ripped off pretty much everything you possibly could from Raspberry to make this board. And my Raspberry's in there, and like I said, it's glued shut, so it's not coming apart for a video. Luckily I have a clone around to be able to show you. So we're gonna jump down here and get a closer view, and we'll show you what's actually on the Raspberry itself. So on this clone of a Raspberry Pi, its layout is almost exactly the same as a traditional Raspberry Pi. So I'm using this one. This is a different clone or copycat. But this one, aside from the fact that it's got a white PCB board, looks exactly like a Raspberry Pi. If it had a green board, they might have just stolen the board straight across. But they just stole everything else and colored it differently. So this heatsink right here, I had some thermal issues with this one, so I cut a graphics card. I took the heatsink off a graphics card and cut it up and put it on here. So it was an ancient graphics card. Yes, it does work, but I'm sure it probably still works just fine without the heatsink. That's how old it was. That was my point by that. Anyways, what do we have? Well, we have two USB 3.0 ports, two USB 2.0 ports, an Ethernet connection, audio 3.5mm jack, HDMI, and a power supply. That's what you'll have on a Raspberry, as well as these right here called GPIO pins, or otherwise known as breakout pins. You can get breakout kits, and they sit on there. And they sit on there. Real easy connection. They usually have a little bracket that seats right down on a bunch of these pins and will do whatever you need to. It's really nice for expansions if you're using one of the expansion kits. However, the greatest thing about these is for development. So when you're doing any kind of development or making custom-made objects and items, perfect example is this. You can't buy this. You can't buy this on the internet. You can't buy this in stores. You want one of these, you have to make one. And you have to learn how to understand things like this and how to do little bits of programming and code writing. That's what these are for. These are all different kinds of voltages, and you can control them. So if you wanted to make anything electronic that needs to be running code of some kind, these are a great option. These will allow you to build almost anything you can think of. And it's all thanks to my little friend, Raspberry Pi. Don't worry. In a future video, in a couple days, we're gonna go over these two. What brand are they? How much do they cost? And where can you get them? I can't tell anybody where to get these because they're all so overpriced. I can't in good conscience share any links. It doesn't feel right to me sharing you guys a link where you're gonna pay $200 for a $35 board. So, if the price goes down, sweet. If not, I'm figuring these ones out. This one, I've gotten to do a ton of things that, according to the community online, can't be done with it. So, I'm going to start making videos on this one and this one in a couple days. So make sure you follow, subscribe, wherever you are, wherever you're seeing this video. Just stick around for a bit. Cool? Alright. You know what I mean? It's got everything. It's got a little bit of everything. Anything you could possibly need. And if it doesn't, it's got the GPIO. So you can make it. So who would want one of these things? Maybe you. Who knows? I don't. I know I want them. I know I like them. Another thing they can be used for is retro console emulators. On one of these boards, on either two of these generic ones, or on the Raspberry itself, I can set any one of them up as a gaming emulator, where everything from PlayStation 1 and older can all be on one device. And it's like a console, but you don't need discs or cartridges or anything anymore. It's all just saved on the hard drive. Or in my case, this one, an SSD. Same concept. So you can have literally hundreds of games on one tiny little device this big that fits in your pocket. And then you just plug a controller into it and play your games. I mean, that's pretty freaking rad. I'll show you real quick. Check this out. Each one of these is a folder with games in it. And when I select on it, you can go through the different games. That, my friends, was this. And it's a knockoff. It's not even the real thing. Imagine what the real thing's capable of. So, for all of you who weren't curious and didn't ask, now you know how to make, or what to use to make a console emulator. And you know what a Raspberry Pi is. So thank you for not asking. And I'll see you in the next video, because we're going to talk about a potato.